In tonight's Political Insider, reigniting the immigration fight. The issue took center stage during Tuesday night's Republican presidential debate. But did Donald Trump go too far? For insight, we turn to our guest tonight on Capitol Insider, Ben Kamisar, reporter for The Hill. Ben, during the debate, Trump defended his plan to deport 11 million illegal immigrants by taking a page out of history.
Let me just tell you that Dwight Eisenhower, good president, great president, people liked him. I like Ike, right? The expression, I like Ike. Moved 1.5 million illegal immigrants out of this country. Moved them just beyond the border, they came back. Moved them again beyond the border, they came back. Didn't like it. Moved them way south, they never came back.
But Eisenhower's 1950s program was highly controversial. Even the name itself was offensive. Trump has made racially charged statements before, and his supporters didn't bat an eye. So, Ben, do you think he'll face any pushback this time around?
Well, I don't think he'll really see any pushback from his supporters. Everyone really knows where Donald Trump stands on this issue as far as it goes. But and the supporters that have flocked to him knowing full on how he feels about immigration and how he sees that issue. But what is interesting is sort of the the pushback that he's seen on a comment he made the day after, where he called for a deportation force. That has gotten some condemnation from rivals, including Ben Carson, who's vying for the top of the outsider lane, if you will, with him. That allowed Ben Carson to make more of a moderate stance, where he actually where he called that not indicative of the Republican Party. So that actually could help separate those two candidates a little more and provide some clarification on that issue.
Ohio Governor John Kasich and Jeb Bush pushed back on Trump's plan to build a wall and deport the estimated 11 million illegal immigrants, calling it a silly idea. Is Trump's plan even feasible? I mean, we're talking about 11 million people knocking on doors of 11 million homes with the jackbooted force out there sending them back. Come on, is it feasible?
Well, it's tough to tell whether or not it's feasible, but one thing we do know is if he is elected and he does decide to go through with that, it costs a ton of money. And that's really where Kasich and Bush and some of the other Republicans have made that argument against him. Not only that it's inhumane, or not only that it's not not indicative of American values, but really that it's not a conservative strategy in the sense that in order to do this, you'll need a ton of federal funding, you need a ton of resources and bodies, and in their minds, that's really not indicative of the conservative approach to government, which is streamlining government and making it smaller.
Any idea where the average American stands on immigration? Could this hurt the Republican Party, not to mention Trump, if he gets the nomination? Yeah,
well, most polls show that the majority of Americans are for some type of pathway to citizenship. It depends exactly on the nuance, but the majority are in support of a pathway to citizenship. They're also, majority are not really in favor of a type of mass deportation. So as far as that goes, it could be harmful for Trump if he wins the primary and goes up in a general election, specifically in some swing states like Colorado, Nevada and Florida specifically, where there's a growing segment of the electorate are Hispanic. But at the same time, most polling does show that the economy is the most important issue for most Americans as well. So it's interesting to see if how he'll take it. He might take a hit on immigration, but if he can make a jobs and economy push that he's been trying to make, that could help him out in other areas.
Now, during Tuesday's debate, Trump also weighed in on wages, calling them too high. Now, income inequality is a huge issue in the 2016 election. The same day as the debate, fast food workers across the country were protesting for a higher minimum wage. Could Trump's comments hurt part of his base here?
Yeah, so Donald Trump made that comment for the first time during the debate right to start, and then he doubled down again the next morning during an interview on MSNBC. He was saying taxes are too high and wages are too high. He seemed to be making the argument that with wages high in America, companies are looking to go overseas and push jobs overseas. You know, that could hurt him with the working class voters that have flocked to him in droves. Those people, a lot of them are sick and tired. They say they're sick and tired of politics as usual, as the same old politicians and government bureaucracy. But what they're also not really, might not sit well with them is the idea that their wages as a middle class worker are too high, especially when most studies show that wages really have stayed relatively stagnant as far as real purchasing power.
Well, it's a
goes.
mixed message. His tax idea is being embraced by a lot of people to bring the corporate money back to this country and away from Ireland and all these tax havens. So that's getting great reviews, but it's a mixed message, as we've talked about. All right. A poll by the Wall Street Journal declared Donald Trump and Marco Rubio as the winners of the latest debate. Does that surprise you? What were their winning moments?
Not particularly. It doesn't particularly surprise me. These polls are a little difficult to judge, especially since they're so quick. The way that you got to do them is you got to go online and make it an internet opt-in survey. So it's basically whoever can respond, whoever responds to it immediately is where you get the sample from. So the one thing we've seen in this really highly unpredictable election cycle is how excited Trump supporters are. So it doesn't surprise me that they would come out and name him the winner. As far as Trump goes, I'm not really sure if there was one winning moment for him. He definitely was a little more muted. You didn't see him dominate the spotlight like he did in the first debate. But at the same time, he didn't really give his supporters any reason to leave him. As far as Rubio got broad praise building off of the last debate into this debate, and another strong debate performance for him that is starting to establish him as one of the main people to beat in that establishment lane.
It's going to be a fun 2016. Ben Kamisar, reporter for The Hill. Thanks again, Ben.
Glad to be here.